It's Mo. It's February, and in the beginning of the year I like to do the postscript tag, which is a tag like talking about the end of last year, and at the beginning of the year, which I still consider February the beginning of the year, I like to do the New Year's book tag, which is like all looking back a little bit but mostly looking forward. And then this year I also saw a lot of people doing ringing in the New Year tag, which was created by Bookmark Chronicles. I can't remember who created the New Year's tag, but I will leave them listed down below. Let's do the ringing in the New Year tag first because it is a little bit more about looking back. First question is best book or series that you read. So you can definitely check out my best and worst books of 2023 and see my answer for that. I would say that the best series has to go to the Southern Reach series because I did finish up that series in 2023 and I really enjoyed it. Instead of doing best book of the year, I'm going to do a book that almost made my best of list, almost made my honorable mention list, but since I only did one honorable mention, I didn't include it, and that is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. So I really liked this weird dark academia book about a girl kind of running from her past, and she ends up going to this super elite, super exclusive school in Pennsylvania. And she's happy to go there because right off the bat we find out that you are not allowed to leave. If you go to Catherine House, you are there for 3 years. You can't leave, you can't call anyone, you can't have any kind of access or interaction with the outside world. So our main character is happy to do that, but the school is definitely weird, and besides that weird caveat to being allowed to go, there's a lot of other weird things that go on, and I really loved it. It just gave you this like ethereal, unattached, floating kind of feeling throughout the whole book. You felt very untethered from not only the real world, but exactly what was going on at Catherine House, and I loved the vibes. I loved the way that it was very casually queer, and I definitely loved just the nebulous, strange feeling that you got. It's definitely my kind of weird book. So that is a book that didn't make my favorites list, but could have. The next question is, what are some authors you discovered in 2023? I definitely have to talk about Jamaica Kincaid. I read my first 2 Jamaica Kincaids, both nonfiction, and I'm really excited to read her fiction, but I really enjoyed her writing. A notable author that I read a lot of books from that I really enjoy was Catherine Steadman. I read 3 of her books in 2023. She does like thrillers, mysteries, and I didn't like absolutely love all of them, but I did have such a fun time with all of them, and they were all just really propulsive and easy to read and fast-paced, and they were a great thing to like just chow down on in between books, a good palate cleanser. So I really enjoyed discovering her, and I definitely look forward to reading more of her work in the future. I read Chester Himes for the first time this year with Rage in Harlem. I read V. Castro for the first time with Goddess of Filth. I really liked that book, and I'm excited to read more of her work. I discovered James McBride. I read my first James McBride this year, which was a short story collection, and I'm super excited to read more of his work. I really like that. I read my first Magda Szabo. So lots and lots of authors that I discovered. Lots and lots of authors that have plenty of other books that I would love to go back and read more of, or I look forward to new books that they have coming out. Question number 3 is best or most anticipated adaptation. I don't really watch adaptations that much. We watched Reacher, the second season of Reacher, and that was really fun. The first season of Reacher was really, really fun. I've never read the Reacher books, but my husband's read a lot of them, so we enjoyed that. Obviously, I always love any like Star Wars shows. I like Marvel shows, so those are all based on things. I'm excited to see the second Dune. I don't watch enough TV or movies these days that adaptations hold any great significance for me until I just watch them, you know. Question number 4 is, has your reading changed in the last year to the beginning of this year? And I would say yes. pace. I think my reading is kind of always changing and evolving. I think that I've read a lot of poetry. 2023 was definitely my year of poetry, and I've carried that on to 2024 so far. I'm more where I want to be with reading books by people of color and queer stories and books about people of color. So I think that like the best thing that's changed in my reading since being on BookTube is just reading more authors that are different from me. So non-white, non-American authors in general, but specifically authors of color, Asian authors, translated work, Indigenous authors, Black authors. That is like a huge impact that BookTube has had on my reading, and I think like it's really, really starting to show in 2023 and the beginning of 2024. Question number 5 is your favorite relationship. This could be a romantic relationship, a platonic relationship, a familial relationship. So this is really a question about books that I have already read in 2023. I'm seeing that the Ring in the New Year tag is much more about the previous year than the current year or the new year. But I will pick a book that I read in 2024, and I would say that the relationships in The Only Good Indians are really interesting. That was a reread for me that I read right at the beginning of 2024, and I love that book. It was my favorite book of 2022, and I think that these friends who were kind of joined together by happenstance and by circumstance and by proximity, and the way that their relationship is always tenuous, and when they go through this traumatic event together in their young adulthood, how it really affects them and breaks them apart as friends, but when they call each other up when this kind of bad situation rears its head again, how they call each other up, how they talk kind of seamlessly, and how they still really care about each other isn't apparent. But then there's also like an underlying current of mistrust and isolation and not being able to be truly friends with anyone. So those I think are really all really interesting relationships in a book. Question number 6 is, have you planned your TBR for 2024? Yes and no. I always have things coming up in the upcoming months that I want to do. I know that February is Homes is Where the Heart Is readathon, so I'm going to try and read a little bit of Sherlock Holmes. It's the Cat Lady readathon in February, so I'm going to read some cat books or some books with cats on the cover or cat in the title. There's always something coming up. March is March Mystery Madness, so I love March Mystery Madness. I definitely plan on reading plenty of books for that. So like, yes, I have TBRs kind of planned, ideas of books that I want to read, but since I don't really make actual TBRs, not really, I make more like piles of possibilities, it's always up in the air what I'll actually get to. Question number 7 is, what challenges are you doing? So I am doing the Savage Prompts challenges. I've already started reading for that, which is monthly, made by Simon Savage and Louise Savage, which are monthly prompts that have a story graph, so you can always go and check there. The first one was a book with a snake on the cover, and I'm actually still currently reading that one. I chose The Future Home of the Living God by Louise Erdrich. I'm working on the TBR spin. I really love doing the TBR spin in 2023. I'm so glad they brought it back for 2024. I'm doing the BookTube spin. I've read one of the books for spin 8, and I'm looking forward to spin 9 in March. I am still trying to read as many books from around the world, from different countries as I can, and also as many books translated from different languages as I can. There is a story graph that has all the countries that you can mark off, authors from there, books that are set in those countries. The country one I'm doing very loosely, so I'm doing books that are set at some point in those countries, not necessarily authors of those countries. What I'd like to do is when I've completed all the countries with books set in that country, then I'd like to narrow it down to stories from that country, either authors from that country or like people who have lived in that country, and the like stories that are actually from that country, as opposed to maybe an American author writing about Burkina Faso or something like that. Those are some challenges that I'm working on. On to the New Year tag, which is much more about what's going on coming up. And the first question is, how many books are you planning to read in 2024? I am planning to read 100 books. So I'm also planning to read like only 100 books. That's kind of my goal. I have a whole video on my goals, so you can go and check that out. In 2023, I read 169 books, and in 2022, I think I read like 135 books. So I'm hoping to read less books in 2024. So I set my reading goal at 100. I have not stuck to not reading much yet. I read 20 books in January, so that's not really off to a great start if I only want to read 100 books. But I did enjoy a lot of the books that I read in January, and I didn't feel like I was rushing. I don't know about you, but to me, January felt like it was so long and it went on for such a long time. So I think January is just a really long month, and I was able to read a lot of books in that month. Question number 2 is name 5 books that you didn't get to in 2023, but you want to make a priority in 2024. So you can pick any of the books on my 24 for 24 list, because this year I did 24 books that I had acquired in 2023. So I picked out 24 books from my recently acquired book spreadsheet that I had acquired in 2023. So those were all books that I picked up that year, that I wanted to read that year, that I was excited to read because I picked them up, but I didn't get to read. So you can pick any of those books. I have read some of the books off that list already, which is exciting. You could also pick any of the books that were knocked off of my TBR spin list. So like Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown is one of them, because those are books that I really wanted to read, that they went on my TBR spin list for a reason. So you could pick those books. You could pick any of my end of the year TBR from 2023. I read the majority of, well, I read about half of my end of year TBR in 2023, but there were quite a few books on there that I really wanted to read, so you could pick any of those. Pick 5, any 5. What genre do you want to read more of in 2024? I've been really in the mood for horror, so I would love to read more horror in 2024. I think I read a fair amount of horror in 2023, but you could always read more. I always want to read mystery, but a genre that I have not read a lot of, maybe literary fiction. I didn't read too much literary fiction in 2023, so maybe that. I'm definitely much more of a genre reader, but it might be nice to read some more literary fiction. Name 3 non-book related goals for 2024. I'm putting out a whole list of sustainability goals that I have. So I definitely want to work on a bunch of sustainability goals. I feel like the last couple of years have been really hard on my sustainable lifestyle, and I've really struggled to continue my sustainable lifestyle in a way that makes me feel good about what I'm doing. I think a lot of times I end up just feeling really bad about how much I've backslid on that journey. So there's definitely a bunch of sustainability goals. A non-bookish related goal is to clean the house in a way that makes the space seem more empty. So we have a lot of stuff. We're not minimalists. We're definitely maximalists. We've been cleaning the basement. My husband has been very diligently cleaning the basement this year so far. One of the reasons is because our dryer was broken, so he needed to clean like a nice big space around the dryer. But our basement is just full of stuff. I've been working on getting all the books up from the basement and going through them all and getting rid of a lot of them. So definitely unhauling things, getting rid of things, paring down. I'd love to pare down my clothing, but our house has also just gotten to that point. There's so much stuff in our house and everything is just kind of closing in. You know, you randomly put some stuff up on the walls, you randomly put a piece of furniture in or whatever, especially because we live a secondhand life. We don't get things new. We don't throw things away. You know, we always try to donate things. We always try to find things that are secondhand. So when you see an opportunity to get something, you just grab it. So one of the big goals would be to like take everything down off the walls, take everything out of the kitchen, really pare down what it is you need and kind of start fresh. I don't mean that we're going to like throw away everything or get rid of everything that we have. We have a lot of collections. We have vintage toy collections. We have book collections. We have beach glass collections, like all sorts of different things. So I don't want to get rid of those things, but I don't want them just like willy-nilly piled around the house. Like it would be nice to clean everything up and start with a clean slate and then gradually put those things back out, the things that we really love and bring us joy and we enjoy looking at. That's like 3 goals: sustainability, cleaning and organizing and getting rid of things, and then also like kind of redecorating, revamping our space so that it is like more fun to live in, feels refreshed. Question number 5. What's a book you've had forever that you still need to read? I am going to say Be Here Now by Ram Dass. I think I said this in every tag that has one of these questions. I always think about reading this book. It's a really interesting mixed media book, and it's like a spirituality book and a meditative book, but I just have never gotten to it. And the longer I don't get to it, the more intimidated I am to get to it. So this is a book that's been on my shelves forever and I really should get to. Question number 6 is one word that you're hoping 2024 will be. I haven't thought about this in advance. I know that in 2022, my word was propulsion. I really wanted to be like moving, changing, doing things. And I think I did a lot of change in 2022. Like, even though I didn't necessarily keep that word in mind the whole year, it is what ended up happening. I started jobs, I left jobs, I propelled myself into learning new things and changing and growing, and I think that's great. 2023, I did not have a word. I think 2023, I was just like holding on by the skin of my teeth, and I was just trying to find a new place to fit. I was trying to get used to working different jobs. I was trying to get used to a whole different style of working. And this year, I think I'm used to that style of working, but I don't think that it's necessarily serving me. Not that I don't like my jobs, because I do really like my jobs, and I see a great future and a long-term future in the jobs that I've had, but I have become really bad at having a schedule. My sleep schedule is totally off. I've become really bad at having a filming and editing schedule. Especially in January and in parts of the end of 2023, my schedule has been really crazy, and I haven't kind of buckled down and taken the time to create the schedule and the practices that I need to keep that schedule. In 2023, I've been more sedentary than like any other year in my life so far. I need to be getting up, to be moving, to be changing. So I think like routine could be a good word, making sure that I'm getting into a routine with work, with filming, with editing, with moving, with exercising. That's not really the word that like encapsulates all that stuff. Wellness in general could be a word. Health in general could be a word. Mental health, work health, schedule health, financial health. Like, I am feeling a financial crunch right now, so that is something that I want to work on. But I also want to be able to like change things up a little. I want to like gain those routines, gain that health, so that I can add things to my schedule, so that I can maybe get a job outside of the house a little bit more, so that I can be around people a little bit more, be working with the public, which I do get burnt out on doing, but I also do love doing. So did I pick a word? No, I didn't pick a word. Maybe health, reading health, work health, life health, bodily health, mental health, healthy relationship, healthy routines, healthy work schedule, healthy YouTube, you know, all those things. So maybe healthy is a good word for 2024. Let me know if you picked a word for 2024. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear them, because obviously I didn't think about it and I didn't pick one. And the last prompt of this tag is to tag some people. Even though bringing in the New Year is a cool tag, I think I would love to see more people do the New Year's tag. It's kind of late to tag anyone. I think most people would think of the New Year's tag as being a January tag, so maybe I won't actually tag anyone. But if you like the sound of either of these tags, definitely consider yourself tagged, or feel free to answer the questions in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!